Alhamdulillah, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My beloved brothers and sisters, every one of us has stood in front of a closed door at some point in life. A door of provision, a door of healing, a door of peace, a door of guidance, or a door of relief that felt impossible to open. We knock, we wait, we cry, and sometimes we feel forgotten. But Allah is never absent. He is Al-Fataha, the one who opens what no one can close. When a person speaks words with sincerity, those words do not remain limited to sound. They become an action of the heart. The difference between words that change nothing and words that change everything is not the wording itself, but the level of trust behind them. Many people repeat phrases again and again, yet feel no movement in their lives, because the tongue is moving while the heart is distracted. True impact begins when the heart fully agrees with what the tongue is saying. Sincere words are spoken without bargaining, without conditions, and without hidden doubt. They are not spoken to test whether something will work. They are spoken with full certainty that what is being said is already heard. When a person reaches this level, the words carry weight. They are no longer requests filled with fear. They become statements of reliance. This is where change begins. Often people believe that results come from effort alone. They think the more they plan, push, and exhaust themselves, the closer they are to success. But there are moments in life where effort reaches its limit. Beyond that point, only trust can move things forward. At that stage, the words spoken from a calm, believing heart do more than endless struggle ever could. Sincere speech is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is steady and composed. It comes from someone who has accepted that control does not belong to them. When the heart releases control, the words gain power. This is why two people can say the same sentence, yet only one experiences change. One speaks while holding fear tightly. The other speaks while releasing everything. Another important element of sincere words is consistency. Words spoken once with intensity, but followed by days of doubt, lose their strength. Sincere words are repeated with the same belief every time, regardless of what the eyes see. Even when nothing changes outwardly, the person continues speaking with trust, because they are not relying on immediate results. They are relying on truth. There is also a deep connection between sincerity and patience. A person who truly believes does not rush the outcome. They understand that words spoken with trust set things into motion in ways they cannot observe. They allow time for what has been set in motion to unfold. Impatience weakens sincerity because it reveals hidden doubt. Fear is one of the biggest barriers to sincere speech. Fear of being disappointed. Fear of waiting too long. Fear of hoping again. When fear dominates, words become defensive. They are spoken carefully, with emotional distance, but sincere words require courage. They require the courage to hope fully, even if it means risking disappointment. When a person finally reaches the point where they speak without fear, without pressure, and without desperation, something shifts internally. Peace enters first, even before circumstances change. This inner peace is often the first sign that the words have reached their destination. The heart feels lighter, more stable, and less reactive to uncertainty. This is why sincere words are described as keys, not because they force doors open, but because they align the person with the opening itself. When alignment happens, resistance fades. Delays no longer feel like rejection. Silence no longer feels like absence. Everything is understood as part of a process that is already working. Sincere words spoken with full trust do not demand proof. They do not argue with reality. They simply rest in certainty. And it is from this state that real openings begin to appear, often quietly, often unexpectedly, but always at the right moment. When words are repeated with awareness, they begin to reshape the inner world of a person before anything changes on the outside. Remembrance is not meant to be mechanical or rushed. It is meant to slow the heart down until it becomes present. When the heart is present, it stops scattering its energy across worry, fear, and imagination. It gathers itself, and in that gathering, strength is formed. The unseen responds to steadiness. A restless heart sends mixed signals, but a calm heart sends a clear message. This is why consistent remembrance has an effect that sudden emotional bursts do not. It trains the heart to remain grounded even when circumstances are unstable. Over time, this grounding creates a shift that is not immediately visible, but deeply real. Many people think that change must be dramatic to be meaningful. They wait for signs, confirmations, or sudden breakthroughs. But the unseen often works quietly. The first transformation happens in perception. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable. What once caused panic begins to lose its grip. This internal shift is not imagination. It is the heart being strengthened through remembrance. As remembrance continues, something important happens. The heart starts responding instead of reacting. Problems do not disappear instantly, but the emotional chaos around them does. This reduction in inner noise allows clarity to enter. Decisions become easier. Patience becomes natural. The person stops forcing outcomes and starts moving with awareness. Remembrance also creates protection. Not protection from hardship, but protection from despair during hardship. A person who remains connected through remembrance does not feel abandoned in difficult moments. Even when answers are delayed, they do not feel alone. This sense of companionship with the unseen is powerful. It stabilizes the soul when logic alone cannot. Another hidden effect of remembrance is that it removes desperation. Desperation often leads people to make harmful choices, rush decisions, or attach their hope to the wrong things. When remembrance becomes consistent, desperation fades. Hope remains, but it becomes balanced. It is no longer urgent or frantic. It is calm and grounded. The unseen world operates on order, not chaos. When a person's inner state becomes ordered through remembrance, their outer life gradually begins to reflect that order. Opportunities align, obstacles shift, paths that once seemed blocked begin to show openings. Not because words are magic, but because the person has become aligned with a higher rhythm. This alignment also brings awareness of timing. A person begins to understand that delay is not denial. They stop measuring success by speed and start measuring it by growth. They recognize that some doors must remain closed until the heart is ready to walk through them without losing balance. Remembrance also softens the ego. It reminds a person that they are not the center of control, and this realization is freeing. When the need to control fades, resistance fades with it. Life begins to feel less like a battle and more like a journey, guided by wisdom beyond understanding. Over time, the heart becomes more resilient. Setbacks do not break it. Silence does not frighten it. Waiting does not weaken it. This resilience is one of the greatest gifts of remembrance. It allows a person to remain steady while life reshapes itself around them. The unseen does not respond to volume or urgency. It responds to clarity and consistency. When remembrance is practiced with presence, it becomes a bridge between the visible and the invisible. And through that bridge, change moves, quietly and precisely, into the places where it is most needed. Patience is often misunderstood as passivity, but in reality it is one of the most active inner states a person can hold. It is not the absence of movement, it is the discipline of remaining steady while unseen processes are unfolding. When patience is combined with consistency, it becomes a force that quietly removes obstacles long before they are visible to the eye. Many people abandon their path, not because it is wrong, but because the results are delayed. They interpret silence as failure and waiting as loss. But what they do not see is that consistency is shaping outcomes beneath the surface. Just as roots grow before a tree breaks through the ground, consistent patience builds foundations that sudden effort cannot replace. Consistency is not about intensity, it is about loyalty. It is the decision to continue, even when motivation fades. A person who remains consistent does not change direction every time emotions shift. They stay aligned with what they believe, regardless of how slow progress appears. This steadiness sends a powerful signal to the unseen that the person is prepared to receive what they are asking for. Patience also protects a person from premature success. Openings that arrive before a person is ready often lead to loss, regret, or imbalance. When patience is present, it acts as a filter. It ensures that when something finally arrives, the person has the capacity to sustain it. What arrives through patience tends to remain because it matches the person's growth. Another important aspect of patience is emotional regulation. Without patience, emotions rise and fall sharply. Hope turns into frustration, and trust turns into doubt. Patience smooths these extremes. It allows a person to experience disappointment without collapsing and anticipation without obsession. This emotional stability is crucial for long-term progress. Consistency strengthens patience over time. Each day a person remains steady. Patience becomes less of an effort and more of a natural state. Waiting no longer feels heavy. It becomes purposeful. The person understands that every moment of consistency is contributing to something larger, even if they cannot yet see it. There is also a deep connection between patience and clarity. When a person is impatient, their vision narrows. They focus only on immediate relief. But patience expands perspective. It allows a person to see patterns, lessons, and alternative paths that impatience would cause them to miss. This expanded awareness often leads to better decisions and wiser actions. Many doors remain closed not because they are permanently shut, but because the person is not yet aligned with what lies behind them. Patience realigns a person internally. It refines intention, strengthens character, and removes attachment to outcomes. This internal alignment is often what causes doors to open naturally, without force. Consistency also builds trust within the self. A person who stays consistent learns that they can rely on their own discipline. This self-trust reduces anxiety and increases confidence. When a person believes in their ability to remain steady, they stop panicking about timing. They know they will endure the wait. Waiting with patience does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what is required without demanding immediate reward. It means continuing with integrity even when no one is watching and no results are visible. This quiet integrity is powerful. It shapes destiny in ways that noise never could. Over time, patience transforms waiting into preparation. What once felt like delay becomes understood as necessary formation. And when the moment finally arrives, it feels natural, not overwhelming. The door opens, not as a surprise, but as the completion of a process that patience and consistency have been building all along. That humility is not weakness, it is clarity. It is the moment a person stops placing themselves at the center of the universe and understands their true position within it. When humility enters the heart, resistance leaves. The constant need to prove, control, and demand begins to dissolve. This inner shift creates space, and it is often in this space that responses begin to arrive. A person who approaches life with humility does not speak from entitlement. They do not believe they deserve outcomes simply because they have suffered or waited. Instead, they recognize that everything they seek is beyond their control, and this recognition softens the heart. A softened heart is receptive. It listens more than it speaks, and it receives more than it demands. Many unanswered requests are blocked, not by denial, but by inner rigidity. When a person clings tightly to how things must happen, they unknowingly limit what is possible. Humility loosens this grip. It allows outcomes to arrive in forms that may be unexpected, but are ultimately better suited. By releasing insistence, a person opens themselves to wisdom beyond their own plans. Humility also removes comparison. When a person stops measuring their life against others, their inner noise quiets. Envy, resentment, and impatience lose their power. This calm state is important because a distracted heart struggles to recognize responses even when they arrive. Humility sharpens awareness. It allows a person to notice subtle shifts and quiet openings that pride would overlook. There is a deep connection between humility and sincerity. A humble person does not perform for recognition. Their words are not meant to impress or manipulate outcomes. They speak honestly, without exaggeration or hidden agendas. This honesty carries a different weight. It aligns intention with truth, and alignment creates flow. Humility also teaches acceptance. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means trusting that not everything needs to be understood immediately. A humble heart accepts delay without interpreting it as rejection. It understands that timing is part of the answer. This acceptance reduces inner conflict, making the person emotionally lighter and more patient. When humility is present, gratitude increases naturally. A person becomes aware of what they already have, instead of obsessing over what is missing. Gratitude shifts focus from lack to abundance, and this shift changes how life responds. What is appreciated tends to grow. What is ignored tends to fade. Another powerful effect of humility is that it dissolves desperation. Desperation is loud and anxious. It pushes and pressures. Humility is quiet and steady. It trusts without forcing. This calm trust creates balance, and balance invites resolution. Solutions are drawn to stability, not chaos. Humility also strengthens resilience. A person who is humble does not break when things do not go their way. They adapt. They learn. They continue forward without bitterness. This resilience is often what prepares a person to handle what they are asking for. Without humility, success can inflate the ego and lead to loss. With humility, success is grounded and sustainable. When a person lowers themselves internally, they are not diminished. They are elevated. They become open rather than closed, calm rather than tense, receptive rather than resistant. This internal posture changes how life interacts with them. Obstacles soften, paths adjust. Responses arrive in ways that feel natural rather than forced. Humility does not shout. It does not rush. It waits with trust and moves with wisdom. And in that state, answers find their way, not because they were demanded, but because the heart became ready to receive them. Fear and doubt often disguise themselves as caution, but in reality they quietly drain energy from the heart. They create hesitation, second-guessing, and emotional exhaustion. When a person carries fear into the future, especially into a new year, they are not just carrying memories of the past, they are carrying assumptions that limit what is possible. Letting go of these inner weights is not optional if real change is desired. Fear usually comes from the need for guarantees. The mind wants proof before it believes, safety before it trusts, and clarity before it moves. But life does not work that way. Growth requires movement without certainty. When a person waits until fear disappears on its own, they wait forever. Fear loosens its grip only when the heart decides to move despite it. Doubt is more subtle. It whispers quietly, questioning timing, worth, and outcomes. It does not always say this will fail. Sometimes it says maybe later, or what if you are wrong? These small doubts delay action and weaken intention. Over time, they create emotional paralysis. Releasing doubt means refusing to negotiate with these thoughts repeatedly. It means choosing belief even when uncertainty remains. The future does not require perfection, it requires courage. Carrying old fears into a new season distorts perception. Opportunities are missed not because they are absent, but because fear convinces the mind that risk is too high. Letting go is an internal decision. It is the moment a person says, "I will not let yesterday define what tomorrow is allowed to bring." Another reason fear persists is attachment to control. The desire to control outcomes creates anxiety, because outcomes are never fully controllable. When a person releases the need to manage every detail, peace enters naturally. This peace does not come from knowing what will happen, but from trusting that whatever happens can be handled. Desperation is closely tied to fear. When fear is high, desperation follows. Desperation causes people to rush, overextend, and accept what is not meant for them. Letting go of fear restores discernment. It allows a person to pause, reflect, and choose wisely, instead of reacting emotionally. Releasing fear also requires forgiveness. Forgiveness of past failures, missed chances, and wrong decisions. Holding on to self-blame keeps the heart trapped in regret. When forgiveness enters, the heart becomes lighter. A lighter heart is more open to new possibilities. It stops replaying the past and starts preparing for what is ahead. Letting go does not mean becoming careless or unrealistic. It means becoming flexible. A flexible heart adapts. It understands that paths can change without meaning loss. It remains open to learning and adjustment, rather than rigid expectation. When fear is released, energy returns, creativity increases, confidence stabilizes. The person stops seeking validation from outcomes and starts moving with inner assurance. This inner shift often attracts support, clarity, and opportunity, because the person is no longer closed off by self-protection. A new season requires a new inner posture. Carrying fear forward keeps doors closed before they are even approached. Letting go does not guarantee ease, but it guarantees movement. And movement, when guided by trust rather than fear, creates openings that hesitation never will. Belief is not simply hoping that something will happen. It is living as though the outcome is already held with wisdom beyond one's understanding. When belief reaches this level, impatience fades and trust takes its place. A person no longer obsesses over when things will change, because they are anchored in the certainty that change will arrive at the right moment, not the rushed one. Timing is one of the most difficult lessons to accept. The mind wants results aligned with personal schedules and emotional urgency, but life unfolds according to a rhythm that cannot be forced. When belief is strong, waiting no longer feels like punishment. It feels purposeful. The person understands that the delay itself may be shaping them for what is coming. True belief also removes the need for constant reassurance. A person who truly believes does not need signs at every step. They move forward calmly, even through uncertainty. This calmness is not ignorance, it is confidence in a wisdom greater than immediate perception. Such confidence stabilizes the heart and prevents emotional burnout. Another important aspect of belief is surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up effort. It means releasing attachment to specific outcomes. A person continues to act responsibly, but without clinging to how things must unfold. This flexibility allows life to respond more freely. When expectations loosen, resistance decreases. Belief also teaches a person to recognize preparation disguised as delay. Moments that seem unproductive often carry lessons, strength, and clarity that will be essential later. Without these lessons, success would arrive as a burden rather than a blessing. Belief reframes waiting as training rather than wasted time. When belief is present, gratitude becomes natural even before results appear. A person appreciates growth, insight, and inner stability as signs of progress. This gratitude changes perspective. It shifts focus from what is missing to what is forming, and what is valued internally often manifests externally in time. Belief at the right moment also protects a person from envy and comparison. When someone trusts their own path, they are not disturbed by others moving faster or differently. They understand that timing varies for each individual. This understanding preserves peace and prevents unnecessary emotional conflict. Another powerful effect of belief is resilience. Setbacks no longer define the journey. They are seen as redirections rather than endings. A person with belief does not collapse when plans fail. They adjust and continue confident that the path is still unfolding. Belief also sharpens intuition. When fear and doubt quiet down, inner guidance becomes clearer. Decisions feel more aligned, less forced. The person begins to recognize subtle signals and opportunities that were previously overlooked. This awareness often leads to better choices and smoother transitions. At the perfect moment, belief meets fulfillment. When the door finally opens, it does not feel random. It feels earned, aligned, and timely. The person steps through without fear, because they have grown into the version of themselves capable of carrying what arrives. Believing in perfect timing is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is continuing forward with patience, integrity, and calm assurance. And when belief remains steady, openings appear naturally, not because they were demanded, but because the time was finally right.